in the second part of this video, I'm looking at brands other than Hornby, although, as a bit of a contradiction, the very first two locomotives you can see are by Hornby Dublo. Now, this was effectively a different company from the company we now know as Hornby, because in the 1960s, the Hornby name was taken over by Triang, and what was left of Hornby Dublo, these heavy, metal-bodied, robust locomotives, went to a company called Wrenn. Now, these, in their day, were not bargain locomotives. They were much more expensive than Triang because they're built to a higher standard. They have quite a few separately fitted parts, well, not that many, but a few. And they were also had very robust chassis, and they had, usually, in all but one case, I think, they had die-cast metal bodies. So they're heavy locomotives, they've got a powerful motor, they'll pull a lot. Now, as I say, in those days, they were certainly not bargains. By today's standards, though, some of them are. If you want something that's mint in box, you'll probably pay a fortune for it, especially if it's one of the rarer items. But if, like me, you just want something that runs well, here are a couple of the much cheaper ones. I've got an LNER N2 tank engine, which, if I remember correctly, did not cost me much at all. It was battered, it had been repainted, and so that's not an original LNER model that Hornby Dublo made. And on the left, I've got a Class 4, standard Class 4 264 tank engine. That was originally in British Rail lined black. It would have had full lining, red and white bands, or red and light grey bands. Most of it has worn off, and so it was going for much less than you'd normally expect. Neither of them were boxed. And the N2 cost me less than £30. The standard Class 4 was under £40. And yeah, they're pretty good runners. One thing you've got to look out for with Hornby Dublo is, well, the first thing, let me show you this. For a start, make sure you buy a 2-rail, not 3-rail locomotive. You can tell if it's 3-rail. Normally on eBay they'll tell you, but it will have something a bit like a ski along the middle of it, a big metal smoothed plate which used to pick up electricity from the middle third rail on old Hornby Dublo track. This hasn't got it. This was actually adapted for 2-rail. It wasn't originally produced for 2-rail. This is a 3-rail model that someone has independently converted to 2-rail. That's one thing to look out for. Don't buy 3-rail Hornby Dublo. It won't run on 2-rail track at all. Another thing to look out for, the couplings. The original Hornby Dublo couplings are like this. I hope the camera's focusing on that. If it's not, it's like a little claw that hooks around, and it works quite well. But of course, it's not compatible with modern couplings, so you'll need to either replace the couplings or have something called a converter truck. You can buy these, or you can make one yourself, and I'll show you what I've done. So that's a Hornby Dublo one. This one, someone else has converted the couplings into the tension lock style, the Hornby Triang tension lock style. And so that one can couple up to track, to rolling stock very easily. Another thing to look out for with these, obviously they're very old locomotives. Some of them run as sweetly as the day they were produced. They are really good mechanisms. But others, the magnet may have lost quite a lot of its power, and they might need remagnetizing. And that is, well, if you get someone else to do it, it's quite expensive. If you buy your own remagnetizing tool, that's going to cost a lot of money. And so long, it no longer is a bargain. So be aware of that. Some of them may be rather tired, and sometimes they set off okay, and then because their magnet is weak, the motor starts to overheat and they'll slow down, and you know, they just won't run as well or as smoothly as you'd hoped for. So here are two then. Before I get the Class 4 going, there's just one thing I remembered. They draw quite a large current compared to modern locomotives, and if you're using just a basic Hornby train set type controller, these do not produce a very powerful output. They still produce the 12 volts, but they can't produce as big a current that these older style models need. And you may well find that once your locomotive has been going for a little while, the controller cuts out. The controller is providing too much current, it overheats and it cuts out, and then it can be 3, 4, 5 minutes before the controller starts working again. It's usually just cut out. It's not broken, the controller, but it's frustrating. So with these older models, you really need an older type controller, ideally something built by H&M. They were the Rolls-Royce of power controllers back in the 1960s and 70s. I haven't got one wired up at the moment, so I don't know quite how well this one will do. It's just on a Gauge Master controller, but let's see how it gets on. I'd forgotten that I had it on full power when I switched the power on just then, so it shot off. Let's see if I can do a slightly smoother start this time. So there we have the Hornby Dublo standard class 4 tank. Fairly quiet runner, very powerful, not as smooth as some. It sometimes slows down a bit, but for less than £40, a good powerful runner. It could probably pull about 20 coaches if I really wanted to. Here's a way around the coupling issue I mentioned, Hornby Dublo with their different types of couplings. I've got it's actually produced by Mainline. It's a Mark 1 British Rail full brake. At one end it's got the Mainline tension lock coupling. The other end I've removed that and I've attached a Hornby Dublo type coupling. So I'll just connect that up to a train and you can see it in action. And in the station at the moment I've got an old Hornby Dublo Golden Fleece. I think it was one of the first locomotives they produced in 2-rail only. I could be wrong on that. But anyway, Golden Fleece, an LNER A4, and it's certainly 2-rail, and it's got the old Hornby Dublo coupling, but I've got the Mark 1 coach in between it and my rake of standard tension lock coaches. So let's see how this goes. Much noisier than some modern locomotives, but still pretty smooth. One thing worth mentioning about Hornby Dublo and Wrenn locomotives is they can pull a hell of a lot because of their all-metal bodies. Talking of powerful runners, here is a Ren Duchess class, City of Stoke-on-Trent. Again, I bought this unboxed, £50. Hornby used to do a tender drive Duchess, which was, you'll pick up for less than £50. This one, I would say, is a better model. It's certainly more powerful. It can probably pull or at least 12 standard coaches if I wanted it to. I've only got 3 Hornby Mark 1s on the end, but let's see it running. A bit hesitant at the start, you saw, but here it is rattling through the station at a good, fast speed, having no problem pulling those three coaches. One reason for the hesitant start might be that it only picks up from 4 wheels, like many of the older locomotives from the 60s, 70s. Just the 4 main driving wheels pick up, although this does have plenty of other metal wheels. If I wanted to, I could wire up some extra pickups to it, and I'm sure it would run even more smoothly over track that hasn't been cleaned recently. So that's the end of part 2 of my series of videos. Hornby Dublo and Wrenn. I've only really got into these models more recently because I always thought of them as very expensive and out of my price bracket. But it's surprising these days when people want more and more fine detail, locomotives like this go for less and less, unless, as I said earlier, you want a mint boxed version. If you just want to play trains, you can pick up some really good models. So in part 3, I'll be looking at all the other brands, Lima, Bachmann, Mainline, Airfix, Dapol, whatever it is. Okay, so hope you enjoyed part 2. Bye for now.